Yankees Files podcast. We are back with the first episode of season 5. Holy cow. And
wow.
I'm Will Harris. You're Alec Whipple. You're Steve Rechter.
Hello.
And I think we have to address, Whipple, the Steve-sized elephant in the room, or the elephant-sized Steve in the room.
I don't know.
Either one of those works. So season 5, I talked with Will a little bit last time, and this is, again, for all the Whipple fans out there, this is not going to be immediately taking place. But given my life circumstances, getting ready to take the bar and start practicing law, going to have to step back from the pod for an indefinite period of time, just personal stuff. I don't want it to overshadow the great work that's going on here. And it definitely, I was kind of wrestling with this for a little bit, but I think it's the right thing. I know it makes it a lot easier knowing that someone like Steve is ready to step in and take over, and definitely take over where I left off. And I think it's surpassed in a lot of ways. I'm not going away right away. I'm here, so I didn't get kicked off immediately, but I'll be here for a little bit. But we're excited to welcome Steve, and I'm definitely thrilled to be succeeded by somebody who I think is extremely smart, rational, capable. I think, honestly, the most important thing for me is somebody rational, because Will, it's Will, he'll get on his rants, and I need to calm him down. So I think Steve is going to be very capable of taking over for that. So, just beginning of season 5, we had to say that off the top, not immediate, but that's what's going to be going on.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be coming on and doing this. When I hopped on Twitter, you guys were one of the first people I gravitated towards. Two very smart people, clearly. Then I discovered the podcast. And I think we just hit it off naturally, just bouncing off each other's takes. So to be coming on and doing this now is awesome. I need every excuse in the world to talk more Yankees. And it'll be hard to one up what you guys have been doing, but I hope I can just carry the torch and keep trying to be sensible in a sea of crazy Yankees fans. So I'm excited, man. We're going to miss you, Whipple.
We'll have the farewell episode. I need to have my own farewell episode at some point, so I don't want to get into that now. But
the farewell
get to
episode
attend their
is
own funerals, right?
The farewell episode is Whipple doing a 3-hour monologue on the 2012 Yankees. The thing that you've been demanding.
What if Garrett Cole and Masahiro Tanaka were pitching for the 2012 Yankees? That's.
But anyway, we're very glad to have Steve here. Steve was the universal top choice between the two of us, unanimous selection, and I think very much kind of embodies the ethos of Yankees Files in the way that he approaches baseball and thinks about these things. And it was important to us to keep that. We have no doubt that you, the listeners and followers, will appreciate it. And if you don't, too bad. We do this for us. We don't do it for you. Anyway, it is the first episode of season 5. Customarily, the first episode of a new season is the off-season plan episode. And there's a lot of room for things to change on this Yankees team. We took 3 pretty different approaches to it. And I would say let's dive right in. I think I'm first, but we'll see. I'm first.
Ooh.
Okay, so just as there was a Steve-sized elephant in this room, there is a Juan Soto-sized elephant in the room that metaphorically is the Yankees 2024-25 offseason. I have him coming back. Steve has been very vocal about this on Twitter. I think everyone has takes about it. I think it's more likely that Juan Soto ends up on the Yankees than that he ends up on any other individual team. That doesn't necessarily mean it's more likely than not that Juan Soto ends up on the Yankees, but in my offseason plan, Juan Soto ends up on the Yankees. I think there's one very clear criticism of this offseason plan, and it's, hey, well, the Yankees aren't going to spend all that money. I have them getting Christian Walker, Juan Soto, Nick Pivetta, Tim Hill, and Chris Martin in free agency. That's probably a lot. That's probably more than they're going to spend. And I freely admit that, but it's my off-season plan. And Hal was talking a little bit aggressively about the budget a few times, so I took some liberties. Additionally, I made some trades or just some otherwise paring down the roster decisions. You'll see it very much hurts me, but Trent Grisham is not here. I think he is an eminently tradable player, just given cheap, 1 year of control, really good defender and at a premium position, solid lefty bat. I think he could go nicely in one of these deals. Notably, Luis Gil is not here. I think his stock is high. I think this is a sell high opportunity coming off the Rookie of the Year. Jose Trevino is not here. I think with the Yankees fully transitioning to Austin Wells as the starting catcher, you can get by with Carlos Narvaez or a Carlos Narvaez type in that second spot. The Yankees are obviously very good at developing defensive catchers, identifying defensive catchers. I'm not worried about someone's ability to replicate Jose Trevino's production as a backup in that spot. Notable trades, I have Brendan Donovan, who I think Whipple, you really inspired this with your multiple times highlighting Brendan Donovan. Maybe
I didn't
that's
take him this year, so
yeah, true. Maybe that's part of the Luis Gil package. And then I have relievers Nick Mears and Eric Miller. Just two guys who either had good results last year or deserved better results than they got. Kind of the low cost, almost like Scott Efrosy move in the case of Eric Miller because he was a rookie this past year. Mears has bounced around a little bit more, but is still under team control through 2027. So, cheap, controllable. And I like that for filling out the bullpen. Also with Miller in particular, adds another lefty on top of Tim Hill, which I like. And then the weird one here is Elliot Ramos. So people know I've always loved the idea of rating the Giants outfield. Some of those options got less attractive. We saw what Austin Slater ended up amounting to last year. The Yankees kind of tried something with JD Davis, but I like Ramos because he originally was not in that spot. I had Dominguez and Grisham on this team, and I looked at it and I thought to myself, there's not a reliable right-handed bat outside of Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, and I guess Christian Walker. But I became concerned later in this past season about the fact that the Yankees really didn't have the ability to go to a righty bat for a matchup if it would behoove them. And that bothered me. And by putting Ramos on the team, it means you're not relying on right-handed Oswaldo Cabrera. You're not relying on Jason Dominguez. You can, send DJ LeMahieu to a farm up state. And now you have a competent right-handed bat who also played a very good, a good to very good left field this year for the Yankees. So I would, put together some trade that gets you Ramos and Miller from San Francisco and run with that. The offense shakes out to be phenomenal. Not quite as good as Steve's, but a 124 WRC plus would obviously lead the league. 33.8 Fangraphs WAR was with the Diamondbacks, who led the league in position player WAR last year, put up. Obviously, you're going to have more than 10 guys play, so there are going to be worse players who drag these numbers down. But if that's what you're getting from your top 10 guys, it's pretty freaking good. On the pitching side, I've kind of always been enamored with Nick Pivetta, and it seems like he may not be as expensive as I feel like he ought to be. So that's why I threw him in there, more than capable as a Luis Gil replacement, possibly even an upgrade. Steve, I'll go to you first. Any reactions aside from the fact that I'm, overly optimistic and allocating far too much payroll to this team?
No, I'm thinking about the fact that I got stuck in a rock and a hard place with Soto and money. It was just hard to come up with something that I thought could actually happen that aligned with what I wanted to happen. And I think that's why when we get to mine, it's not that much really happens. And I even had to throw a couple of things on there just to have something to talk about, which definitely won't be the reality for what happens. I don't know if the Giants will trade Elio Ramos. He's really good. I think And I think I'm wary of any trade for something significant just due to the state of the farm right now.
Sure.
You don't have that much to trade, and if you do, you're not going to have anything to trade at the deadline, depending on how players shake out and everything. So they're already desperately thin there as is. So I don't know. I feel like you're kind of stuck. It's challenging. I don't think this would be possible, but I like it. I like what I'm looking at. If they
I was
will
kind of
spend
stuck
that
in
much,
that place as well.
yeah. Man, it's a good team. Brendan Donovan has been talked about coming to the Yankees for a long time. Tons of different rumors going on there. I think how these trades shake out is interesting. Who did you say you were trading for Donovan?
I think Luis Heel has to be a main piece, if not the main piece of that trade.
I think they should trade Heel. I mean, his stock is certainly high. I think Nestor is also an interesting trade piece.
Definitely a candidate.
You're going to be a free agent, and when you look at what Yusei Kikuchi just got today, right? I mean, he's getting $20 million a year, something like that, right? I think 21. And Nestor's, I think, are eligible for $8-9 million.
Yeah,
their arbitration. So, I mean, he's got a ton of surplus value there. And I know it feels weird because of the injury at the end of the year, but you look at the innings he put up and the rate of those innings, and that's a trade guy right there too. So
for sure,
how they're all going to shake that out, I just don't know. But I like this.
Whipple, what say you?
Yeah, I mean, I the Walker and Pavetta of it is kind of hard to fathom. Although my girlfriend's roommate's high school ex-boyfriend, now really good friend, high school like best friend is Nick Pavetta. And
wait, sorry. Can you take us through that tree again? Your girlfriend?
Morgan's roommate's
I thought that was a joke.
Friend.
Morgan's roommate's high school friend is best friends with Nick Pavetta.
Or like is in the same friend group, gets tickets to go to Sox games all the time through him. And I'm like, I'd have a good Nick Pavetta connection if he came to the Yankees. So that's where my mind went. But yeah, I mean, when I was putting this together, like I think we hit on some similar things, like Heel being a top trade piece, probably for a third baseman, makes a lot of sense to me. It's like I would love Walker and Pavetta. Honestly, like, yeah, I mean, if you're getting Soto back, like I'm not opposed to just going for Pavetta. Like if you have to pick one of them, I don't know. Like something about Pavetta, it does appeal to me. I was considering him. They need the innings for sure. And I think that a Judge and Soto lineup plus the floor of a lot of the other guys is higher than I thought before I put this together, given the WAR projections for like Volpe, Chisholm, Wells. I think if you had to pick one, like I still think it would be fine, especially with the trade pieces. Especially Donovan, I think that's a really good get. And then in the bullpen, I think bringing back Hill makes a lot of sense. Chris Martin, definitely an interesting name. I think they got to bring in some relief. I don't know. Like, I don't really know the other guys, Eric Miller, Nick Mears, but I'll trust you that they're good players. I just don't feel like the Yankees, like, I don't feel like the Yankees are going to be desperate in the bullpen or the pitching staff or the starting pitching staff. And maybe they should be a little more than like, I think the common conception is just focus on the offense and the pitching staff will work itself out. But there's a lot of innings to cover, and I don't think you're wrong to try to get all those guys.
What happens to Marcus Stroman in this scenario?
He and DJ LeMahieu start a podcast.
All right.
Yeah,
the non-tendered cast.
Yeah, there's clearly some like they'd have to get some sort of salary relief for LeMahieu and Stroman in order to really make this work. Because there's a lot of cash being committed in this model. But I figured, look, if Marcus Stroman can throw 140 innings of 4.5 ERA baseball for someone who plays in a big ballpark or something, like someone might find some value in that and take half his contract or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too optimistic. I would have said the Angels. Yeah, I would have said the Angels too, but they are now pursuing real baseball players.
I don't know if anybody takes Stroman. I mean, every front office is looking at everything. I mean, Stroman's fastball was already almost dead by the time we got him, and it really died last year. I mean, I think he was averaging under 90 on his sinker last year. I mean, it's untenable at this point. I just don't know who's going to take him. I mean,
I don't know. The peripherals say he's basically who we thought he was. or like that the surface stats are pretty true. If you think you can get him to get a few more ground balls, then like, yeah, it's 140 or 150 innings of like 4.4 to 5 ERA baseball. And I think that's of some value to someone. And it might turn out that that's of some value to the Yankees, and that would be disappointing for my offseason plan. But I don't know. I don't think he's like an unrosterable player. He's just a player who I would prefer the Yankees not roster, even though they probably have to pay him some of the money that they owe him.
I think they'll have to pay him too much to. I don't think they'll find it worth it. I think they'll look at whatever relief they could get. It'll be a couple million, and they'll just say we might as well keep a guy that can give us innings on the team.
And maybe he's
the conundrum.
Luis Sessa in the bullpen.
Yeah.
The conundrum is with those innings comes the player option, or was that triggered already? I feel like I've seen both, it was triggered this year and it's going to rely on next year, but I'm pretty sure it's next year, right? The
2026 option becomes a player option with 140 innings this year.
So that's the curse of
he won't get there.
Like,
he will
139.
No, they will not let him get that.
139 2/3
on the J hat plan.
Exactly. All right, Steve, I think you're next.
Let's do it. So, like I was saying before, I got caught a rock in a hard place. I don't even know. We both had Christian Walker in our plan. Yep. I truly don't even know if the Yankees will go for that if they re-sign Soto. I think Christian Walker himself, I think they're projecting $20 million. I could see that going a little higher potentially, depending on how everything goes. That might already put them out of range for Christian Walker. So, but I also don't see them signing Juan Soto and not doing anything else, because I think signing him would be predicated on telling him that they're going to do more. And like you said, Steinbrenner's had some quotes talking about having a bigger offseason, spending more than we might think, but I don't know. I really don't know. So even Walker in there is kind of tentative for me. Lamont Wade Jr. is a fun name I threw in there, which doesn't exactly make sense with Christian Walker, because he's really a first baseman. He can play corner outfield. And he's a platoon bat though. So he absolutely mashes right-handed pitching, cannot hit lefties, which doesn't help the situation we had last year, of course, but really, really good. Should not cost that much. He really has been more of a part-time platoon bench player in the past. So I don't think he would cost that much in prospect value. So that mitigated that concern for me. I just don't think you're going to platoon with Christian Walker. Obviously, if you're going to spend $20 million on him, you're not going to platoon him. So I don't know if those two can really exist in the same universe, but I wanted to get his name on there because I think if we are looking for a slightly cheaper, more budget first base option, Lamont Wade is really, really solid, underrated choice to go get. And Max Greenfield has been harping on Lamont Wade for a couple of years now.
Yeah, he has Wade and someone else. Oh, Wade and Doval is the trade that he really likes.
Yeah,
right?
That is a good trade. I thought about putting Doval on there. I think Doval just raises the prospect cost. Even though they demoted him last year and everything, he still has value. He still got cheap years remaining too. So I don't think they would just sell that low on him. He was an all-star recently. He's a plus stuff, really, really good closer. They're not going to sell him for scraps right now. So I did pick up a couple smaller bullpen pieces. Finnegan, who was just non-tendered by the Nationals the other day. I think that's a popular target for almost every team right now, is to say, we'll just go get Finnegan. So I really do wonder how much money he'll end up making, because you'd have to think it's going to be less than his projected arbitration total, but I don't know. A lot of teams would love an arm like that. I don't think he's actually that great, but he is solid. If he's going to make less than $7 million a year, that seems like a reasonable cost-saving measure.
And then someone that the Yankees were said to be interested in at the deadline, right?
Is that right? I can't believe they didn't trade him. I still don't know why. And especially now, I don't know why. They could have gotten a prospect or something for him. But then we have Brock Stewart, which is a fun name. I love Brock Stewart on the Minnesota Twins. Absolutely filthy stuff. He cannot stay healthy to save his life. He was disgusting in 2023. I think he had a sub-1 whip and a 1 point something ERA, crazy strikeout rate, over 11 Ks per nine. Really, really nasty. He got hurt last year and didn't pitch that much. Should be available. I don't think they'd be holding on to him. He's supposed to be healthy going into 2025. He had some shoulder issue that shut him down a lot of red flags there, but that seems like the kind of name that the Yankees could trade for on the cheap that has crazy high upside. Someone rosterable in that way. But I guess
I didn't realize Brock Stewart had been around since 2016.
Yeah, he
Holy
came up
cow.
with the who did he
with
come
the
up
Dodgers.
with? Dodgers, yes, he was a Dodger, and he wasn't that good. No.
Yeah. No,
No.
I don't feel like I became aware of him until probably 2023.
He was disgusting last year. Yeah, there were
Yeah.
highlights of him all over the place, and he's really good. It's just a matter of health for him, but I think that would make him pretty tradable. So just another,
Reasonable.
plus stuff name to get into that mix there. I think, like so many of us think, the bullpen will be names we probably can't even possibly come up with right now.
Yeah.
No one had Luke Weaver on their preseason. Well, I guess we signed him, but I don't think anybody had him as a closing option going into 2024. So things are going to go all over the place with the bullpen, as it often does, but probably work out for the best. I'm trying to wonder why my offense comes out to being a notch better than yours did, Will. Is it Lamont Wade?
Yeah, I think it's probably partially depth chart, or well,
Also, I have Dominguez in there too, and Durbin is in you didn't
yeah,
have either of them.
Durbin is projected to be better than Cabrera.
Okay.
And then yeah, you have basically, I have Donovan and Walker, and you have Wade, Walker. Oh, you know what it is?
Do I have more than one player?
It's you have Stanton in there because you were going by WRC plus and I was going by WAR. To rank the top 10 hitters. So Stanton raises the WRC plus, but I edge you out by like a win and a half.
I see. Yeah, I just did it by WR. Yeah, I didn't even think about it. All right. Well,
so you think that Caleb Durbin is going to be the starting second baseman? Because
I think
something I'm not sure I buy.
I think if they re-sign Soto, he'll be given the inside edge. I mean, if he completely blows up in spring or something, they won't go with it. But based on everything they're saying about him and the money they already have on the books and the money they need to spend to fill other spots, it seems like they're looking at second base as an in-house cheap option. Whether it's in-house or not, I guess it'll be something that they don't want to spend money on second base one way or another, even if that means acquiring a third base, moving Jazz to second, whatever it's going to be. I don't see them putting a lot of money into second base. And I think in an ideal world, if they do get Soto, they get Christian Walker also, the money that's being spent there, I think they're going to have to go with Durbin at second base. So in this reality, I think it would have to be Durbin. I think you're right that probably doesn't end up happening.
Can we agree that one thing these plans clearly show is that the Yankees were wrong not to extend Gleyber Torres after 2022 or 2023 on some team-friendly deal?
If it would have been team-friendly, I mean, we would have been.
I think it pretty clearly would have been team-friendly.
We would have been crying about it for the first half of 2024, though. I mean, it was.
I would have been psyched about it. Don't put that on me.
When he was sitting at like an 85 WRC plus in the middle of June, I don't know.
That's not who he is.
Think it would have,
I don't know.
If it's the deal that you're arguing for, I don't think it would have been that. I mean, we would have been upset, but I don't think it would have been like crippled the franchise.
No. I was thinking about that.
I mean, Aaron Hicks's deal looks so good, and like
that's
$10 million
that's
a
still
year.
going.
Come on! This has gotten out of control.
No,
Gleyber Torres is Aaron Hicks.
I know. No.
Yeah, I like
Aaron. No one would have argued that Aaron Hicks's deal would have turned sour when it got signed.
No, that's true. That's true.
I'm sorry, that was not a good comparison.
I had a thought as I was just thinking about Gleyber Torres. What if we had signed him? What would we be talking about right now if the Yankees had signed Yamamoto? Like that's.
Oh my gosh.
30 more million or 27 more million. I mean, would Soto even be possible? Would he just be gone? Would that just be an assumed lost cut?
Gone. Like I really don't know how they could say like thanks but see you, but like it would make it a lot harder to visualize.
A lot more complicated. Yeah, which is interesting.
They decided not to renegotiate with Garrett Cole, and that's where they got the Soto money.
It almost makes it seem like they were fully prepared to have Soto for 1 year. Like that's kind of what it feels like in a way.
I feel like you have to be, but as much as we don't want to admit it, like you kind of have to be prepared.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're prepared for it. I don't, unlike Judge. No, I'm not. I think unlike Judge, where they had penciled him in in 2020 after 2022. I don't think they really did that much groundwork to prepare for him leaving. I think with Soto, they've been preparing this whole time. I mean, he was only here for a year anyway, so all the plans that have been leading up to this, they have different permutations of what they want to do. So they're ready for it. I don't know if I am, but they are.
That's so interesting about Cole, though. I mean, I don't know if it precluded him coming back, but like maybe we see like, oh, now, you're on the free agent market now, and we gotta like wait and see before we talk, and maybe we're gonna renegotiate because he opted out. I mean, the deal was gone. So
yeah,
that's really, I didn't think about that aspect of it.
Yeah, I guess
That's
they were
such a weird situation.
counting on him to do that. I mean, it's amazing he still did. I was surprised he still opted out. I didn't think he would after an injured ear.
See,
yeah,
you guys were so confident of that, and I really thought he was gonna opt out. They were gonna trigger it. I don't know. I didn't consider like that.
No one was right.
That worried.
No one was.
Yeah,
that's
right.
true.
He opted out and then said, "JK."
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
All right, Whipple. We're gonna move on to your plan.
All right,
which has a lot going on.
Cody Bellinger.
I got some stuff going on. So first of all, I re-signed Soto. I don't think we have to address that, but I also figured that it would be really hard for me to add in like a Christian Walker without trying to get rid of some salary. So I guess Bellinger being as available as he is, a chance for a salary switch with Stroman, at least in that way, like in my mind, and I don't know how realistic this is, it would be some kind of Bellinger and Stroman deal. And then my other trade would be Luis Gil to the Phillies, who I know they have a lot of starters, but I don't have to justify from the other team side. I just wanted Alec Baum. And I think Alec Baum and Jose Alvarado, like it's a reasonable power throwing lefty on a good contract. I think Luis Gil has a lot of value. They could throw in a prospect or two, but I definitely wanted to trade for Alec Baum and sign Soto. And those were like my two goals. I think signing Bellinger gives the Yankees, I think, a good first base option that they shouldn't have to like outbid anyone for. I guess with the money being as it is, I don't know if I love Bellinger, but I think like it's the best of a bad situation. And then for starters, Quintana, I think will give them the innings if they're losing Gil and Stroman. He's not blowing anyone away, but I don't think the contract will be that crazy. And I didn't want to play at the upper end of the starting pitcher pool. I think for Soto, like trading for Bellinger and Baum is kind of like the, okay, we're doing other things move that I feel like would have to come with him. I don't know. I don't really see the Yankees like getting into multiple free agent bidding wars. So I think trade's definitely the easier way to do it. And then the bullpen, I really want to bring back David Robertson. I think the contract would work in terms of like what he would accept. I could see, I mean, he just did that with the Rangers. I think it was like an option that deferred some of the money to the next year. Hopefully it could just do whatever the Yankees needed for luxury tax purposes. I mean, he's 40. Like, I don't know how much more, what he's exactly looking for, but it's what the Yankees need. Definitely like power throwing guys in the bullpen and, a righty setup man who profiles like Robertson does. And then bringing back Hill, I think is kind of a no-brainer. But yeah, I think the Baum one, like, I mean, that's probably the one that's like up for the most debate, but I don't know. Like, I think the Yankees could really benefit by having a third baseman who hits as well as he does. I mean, I know the second half wasn't as good, but I think the overall numbers are still pretty good. And like the underlying stats aren't the best, but they aren't like the worst. It's a good option that raises the floor for them, I feel like.
Are you worried at all about the David Robertson, like, wasn't there a lot of baggage when he
but okay,
playoff
this is what you
shares?
say.
This
is what you say all the time about the Yankees-Astros rivalry about nobody being there. Like, it's not the same clubhouse,
That's
do you
true.
think they really cared that much? I mean, do you think
it's the same front office
going to hold the grudge? Yeah, I know, but like, does he really? I don't know. Is he going to care that much?
I don't know.
In my fantasy world,
I've never understood
have a sit down.
that whole dilemma.
I don't know.
I've never understood it. But they've had multiple opportunities that would have made sense to bring him back since, and they have not done it. That's all I know. I still don't really understand exactly what happened. He like deprived the clubhouse workers of playoff shares or something like that. And it just rubbed people the wrong way. But
he's going to apologize.
I love
D-Rob.
D-Rob.
We're going to have a press conference. It's going to all be good.
High Sox for hope. Let's do it.
High Sox for hope. Get him in the
So
All-Star
I mean, my WRC plus is pretty similar. Like the WAR is pretty similar. A little bit of a step back on the pitching staff just because I didn't really add. I think the holes that I filled or taking Keel out and putting Quintana in isn't a 1-for-1, but I think the bullpen is a little bit better. And I also think like the offense is good enough where, I don't know, like I think I'm not too concerned. I just want the innings. I think Cole and Rodon will do better, hopefully. Maybe not Rodon. I think Cole will be better than 3 WAR.
So
Cortez, I think, will be better than the 1.5.
I noticed Jose Trevino is also not on your team.
Yeah, I think that's a logical trade. It's just like a salary dump to save some money. I don't know what's going to happen to DJ LeMahieu. I don't know if that's possible to trade him, but I don't really feel like he's one of the best 26 guys right now. So
I think they keep Jose Trevino. I'm actually pretty confident that they will. And I think they maybe even should. Who's after Narvaez? I mean, I don't know what other catching depth is even in this organization right now.
They have 5 on the 40 man.
Yeah, they just added that guy to the 40 man. They just added somebody with Durbin. I forget who. Jesus Rodriguez.
Yes.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, Austin Wells isn't going to play every single day. You're going to want somebody else in there. I don't know. Trevino's he's still an elite framer. He's not that expensive or anything. I don't think he's going to command that much in a trade. I think it's easier just to keep him. I really do. I don't know what you're going to get out of moving him.
There's a
I don't know,
conversation
100% disagree.
We can
but
have.
at the same time, you just want to clear some money, I think.
There's a conversation that we can have about getting creative at the catching position.
Aaron Judge, a catcher?
Not that creative. But another power hitter with elite plate discipline who wears high socks.
What's he going to cost?
Oh, I'm talking about a guy who's making the league minimum.
Oh. I thought you were talking about bringing back Gary.
Oh no, I'm not talking about bringing back Gary. Although I would love that. I'm talking about
that's usually where this ends up going.
I honestly, I kind of keep him out of the catching part of my brain. That's what he is, though. That's what he is really a catcher, not really a first baseman. Yeah.
It just feels like it has begun to feel to me like, first of all, if Wells is the full-time catcher, whatever full-time means, whether that's 90 games, 100 games that he's starting at catcher, they're clearly not leaning into a platoon. So I don't think it matters that the next catcher be a different handedness as a hitter. Narvaez is, Rice isn't, but it feels like if you're going to have Ben Rice on the bench all year, which you probably are, I guess, Steve, you don't have him.
I don't, no.
Whipple and I both do. Maybe you can get more out of Ben Rice by occasionally using him that way. I don't know. I think, but now I'm mad I didn't put Gary in my plan. So thank you.
I know we have this like do whatever you want offseason plan, and I don't think you've had Gary Sanchez one time show up.
Yeah, well, I was hurt for a while. You know, I hadn't recovered.
But
I'm a believer in Ben Rice.
Yeah.
I think Ben Rice will play an important part in this team. I mean, I was thinking about trading Grisham. I think starting Dominguez kind of maybe a little hesitant, but maybe that's where they try to just cut around the corners. I think you need a really good fourth outfielder. And like Grisham is kind of an ideal player to have on this team. I was very hesitant to just cut bait.
Yeah, I agree. I think the outfield situation is confusing. I mean, I don't know what they don't have a center fielder. I have this whole list of names on my phone and all the caveats with every single name for the outfield that I liked, and basically none of them are real center fielders. There is no real center fielder for next year unless it's Jason Dominguez, and I don't know if he's a real center fielder. I don't know.
I could see them punting on the Judge thing and doing another year. Like, I don't know if they'd love it, but like, I don't think long term. But I could see that being like part of what they do next year.
Oh,
where does he go?
Will.
I think next year they absolutely will. But what's the long-term outlook? Does he go to left field at Yankee Stadium? That doesn't seem like a great fit either. Ironically, all of the dumb Yankees fans that for the last 5 years have said move Judge to first base might be onto something.
Well,
in the next few years,
something when he's 35.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I think like when they were saying it when he was playing an above-average center field in 2022, it was a little bit of a different story.
They were saying it when he was a Gold Glove caliber right fielder with
that's true
85 sprint speed. Yeah, it made no sense. Yeah,
like tall man play first was there.
Yeah. pretty much.
Oh man. So who are some names that you guys either tried to shoehorn into your rosters or really thought about but didn't ultimately find a spot for? Steve, I'll go to you first.
I mean, I think the number one that no one can put on any team because we don't know is Roki Sasaki. I mean, it's just an interesting name, right? There's no point in even really talking about it because you might as well just roll a dice and see where he goes. I mean, there's no telling on that one. But other outfielders I looked at, Teoscar Hernandez, obviously an interesting one. Can't play center field. So, I mean, he could, but not what you want out there. I also looked at Bellinger, but more as an outfielder than a first baseman. Another one who can play center field. Don't really know if that's where he's best at this point in his career, though. A trade that I would look more into if the farm were better is Luis Robert. Would be fantastic for center field. Right-handed, mashes lefties. That is the guy that who would be available that I would want to add for the outfield right now. But
that's a great call. I would love him too. And all the people, he would make all the right people mad.
No walks, tons of Ks.
Exactly.
Yeah. Lars Nootbaar, he came up in a trade proposal that was floating around social media the other day. I like Nootbaar a lot. I mean, his underlying batted ball data is ridiculous. And he looks like he should be significantly better bottom line results than what we've gotten. Again, though, center field, maybe fringy. Santander, it's another guy. I really can't do that. Pete Alonso, Paul Goldschmidt could platoon with Lamont Wade, but is that going to save you any money doing that? I don't know. Hae-Sung Kim,
love him.
All kinds of names that I floated around, but nothing that seemed to be homogenous with everything else I was trying to do. And I know we're not looking specifically at money on here. There's no financial component to these plans, but as I was just doing some mental math on it, like you just can't add these pieces. It just doesn't make sense unless they really do spend more than we are anticipating they will.
Yeah.
You
know who I'm worried they like is Dylan Carlson.
No.
Come on.
They have liked him, but he didn't hit a home run his whole season last year, right? Am I wrong about that?
Maybe he didn't hit one with the Rays. It looks like he had 3 all year. But he was okay. He was terrible, and he hasn't hit the ball well. He hasn't hit the ball remotely, or he hasn't hit the ball well at all in 2 years. He hasn't hit the ball at like a really nice clip in 3 years. But I'm just like I switch hitter, plays all the outfield positions, even though he doesn't do it well anymore. It's like, I don't know. This is the team that rostered over, 3 seasons, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and Harrison Bader and Alex Verdugo. And it's like, I'm very worried. He just got non-tendered. It's like, I
mean, I think he's minor league deal territory with how bad he's been. I mean, we're talking about like a 70 WRC plus last year, lower. Mm-hmm. And then even 2023, 2023 was almost the same. So, I mean, I don't even think who's given him a major league contract. I mean, it'd be no more than $1 million to be a 4th outfielder. That would be the most he's going to get.
Also, the Rays cut him, and I feel like that usually says something.
That's a good point. Whipple, who are some people who you either wanted to put in your plan or tried to put in your plan and they didn't make the final cut?
I mean, first base, I think I was like pretty gung-ho on Bellinger. Definitely considered Wade, but I feel like Bellinger just is an eminently available bad contract swap guy right now. The third base, like I was playing around with a lot of things. I really was considering just saying they're going to allocate money for Glaber and bring him back, even though. But like, what if Soto said, "I'm not signing unless you sign Glaber"?
Can you imagine? Wait. Okay, so I have to tell this story. I don't think either of you guys will be aware of either of these people, but it has to be done. This is one of my favorite things. Do you guys remember Lil Romeo?
Why?
Do you though? I'll get to why.
Vaguely.
Yeah, he had a show on Disney Channel.
Yes,
Master
I do remember
P
him.
is his dad. He released rap songs as a child.
Yes.
He had a great Christmas song with Hilary Duff. And then are you familiar with multiple-time NBA All-Star DeMar DeRozan?
I am not actually. No,
Okay.
no, my little
Whoa.
Romeo, but no.
All right, so between the two of you have both guys. So DeMar DeRozan was in 2007, like a very highly sought after high school basketball recruit in Southern California. And he was good friends growing up with Lil Romeo, who was in his own right like an adequate to good high school basketball player. I love this so much. DeMar DeRozan ends up committing to the University of Southern California to play basketball in college, but to entice him to go, USC was like, oh, we'll also give a scholarship to Lil Romeo and he can like be on the team because he's your friend. And to Lil Romeo's credit, so DeRozan gets drafted after his sophomore year and Lil Romeo transfers to like one of the UC schools and has like a solid mid-major college basketball career. So like he was a legitimate player, but not a legitimate like, power conference major college basketball player. But they gave him the spot to convince DeMar DeRozan that he should come play basketball for them. And that, Whipple, is what your I'll only play for you if you sign Gleyber Torres situation reminded me of.
That's great. And I think Gleyber Torres is better, respectively, than Lil Romeo is in his craft.
Lil Romeo was never an all-star. I can tell you that. Never hit 38 home runs in a season.
I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but like, I don't know.
Ironically, I think the only world he comes back is if they don't re-sign Soto. I think that's the only world that would happen. Even then, I think they're ready to not go back to Gleyber.
Yeah. I mean, what else did I consider? I thought about Brendan Rodgers, former yard goat for second base.
Yep.
Thought about Yohan Moncada for third base. Rodgers is appealing, but
the Moncada
I don't think Moncada
is actually really interesting to me because if you had a strong belief that you could get him to recapture his form from what was it 2021 was the really good year?
21.
Yeah. If you had a strong belief that you knew what it was that got him to hit the ball the way he did that year, and you felt like you could get it back, he would be a really, really interesting like budget option because nobody's going to give him any money. Right. Like he's hardly played.
Was he a free agent?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Moncada's a free agent. I thought he still had. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, he was like the top prospect. He was supposed to be a god when he came. And he was a guy that
sale headliner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I forget that he stole like 50 bases in the. He was like a speed, all tools player kind of guy. And that just evaporated so quickly when he got up to the big leagues. I mean, it didn't even last into 3 seasons, I don't think. He was left with a bat that was okay for 1 year. Too many whiffs, couldn't get it together really, and has been falling ever since. But there's still some decent batted ball data there. Can still play some premium positions, at least play second base, third base, probably. Switch hitter. That's nice.
One thing I'm like one other guy I wanted to highlight more just because like to think about like how player contracts have changed. Think about like the days of Hiroki Kuroda when like the old veterans would get like 1 year deals. Like Nathan Eovaldi, kind of a similar type, is going to get a multi-year deal. And I feel like the Yankees could have made like a Kuroda deal work or something, but like no way they're going to sign a multi-year. It's definitely the prove-it deals are kind of gone unless you're like super injured. I mean, maybe Walker Buehler gets the prove-it deal, but I don't know. I mean, he just pitched well in the postseason. Probably has some options attached now. I feel like that's what's changed. One other question I want to ask both of you, because we've talked a lot about Soto. What's the plan B? I mean, none of us are brave enough to talk about it. Like, what do you guys think the plan B is actually?
To me, the guy at the top of the plan B is Teoscar Hernandez. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. He's a really good player, first of all.
They could do both. And if they're going to do that in Walker, they could do that in Teoscar.
Yeah, no, that's true. But I think it would be Teoscar, it would be Christian Walker, it would probably be spending money on a starting pitcher, maybe getting. I don't think it brings Willy Adames into the picture as badly as I want it to.
Damn, that's what I was gonna say. Like, can he play? He could play third, right? Did he play third, or was it short?
He said he would play third.
I don't see any reason why he couldn't play third.
He was really good at short.
That's
I think he'd be fine at third. Yeah.
Willy
I don't think they're
Adames
going to be playing
better.
in those fields. I mean, I don't even see. I've seen people talk about, well, we get Christian Walker if we get Soto. Then if we don't get Soto, we'll get Pete Alonso. And I'm like, I don't want that. I don't see enough of an upgrade there from Christian. Just give me Christian Walker, frankly. Less financial commitment. Bat should grade out pretty similar. Better fielder.
I also think Pete Alonso belongs on the Mets. Like, it will be bad for baseball, in my opinion, if Pete Alonso goes somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm not going to have any love for the Mets if they get Soto. I will. My respect of the Mets will end whatever day that happens.
Hopefully it doesn't happen.
It's going to hurt. I just watched that. No More Fielders did an amazing video about the best duo in the history of baseball being Soto Judge. I made the mistake of watching that the other day, and when I had come to the terms already, if Soto leaves, I'll survive. It'll be okay. Then I watched that and I thought that can't happen. He can't go.
Yeah. How bad do you think it gets? Like, how dark of a time is it if Soto signs somewhere else? I don't even care where the somewhere else is.
For who? For
us? Like, how bad do you think that would feel? Sorry.
I think follow-up question too, or adjoining question, and what will it be compared to if Judge had left? Because I was thinking about the comparison.
Oh, I mean, I think it doesn't compare. I was legitimately, I said this on the podcast going into 2023, that like I would legitimately never watch the Yankees again or give them another $1 if they didn't bring back Aaron Judge. And I don't feel that way about Juan Soto.
No, agree 100%. Same exact boat. It will hurt. I think if I'm being completely taking all my emotion out of it, I think it will hurt worse for the vibes than it would on paper. I think the Yankees can be a good team next year without Juan Soto. It'll certainly look different. And there's more risk there just because I think Juan Soto's his floor is just so damn high. He's just such a consistently good player.
He rolls out of bed with 5 wins.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's everybody's saying, well, you can make up that value with these different pieces. Then you have every one of those is a different variable. Yeah. And even then you're not adding on the other value you would be getting from those pieces if you just had Soto. So it's not that equaling together, 7 WAR with 3 positions is equal to Juan Soto. It's not. So it's going to hurt, but I think they can make a team that will be good next year. I think I'm more concerned about the years after that if they don't get Soto. He is such a perfect bridge between the core that is right now and whatever might come in 4 or 5 years down the road. And if he's gone, that there could be a darker time there as Garrett Cole and Aaron Judge and Carlos Rodon and Stanton are all now older and producing less for almost $170 million combined over 4 players or whatever that number is. It's a large
Judge
number
in that group coming off like an 11 WAR season.
I said 4 or 5 years. I said 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
No. I'm defending. Yeah.
He's 32. He's 32. I love the man. I think he's going to be great next year, but there will be decline here. It's going to happen.
No, that's true. Just making sure.
Luminaries such as DJ LeMahieu and Marcus Stroman continue to age. I think it's going to be the way it happens will determine. Like, if, it's close and he leaves, like, what, like, the way in my mind I think about it is, like, the Yankees did literally everything they could have done. I don't think winning the World Series or losing the World Series, like, you can't tell me, if they had won, he would have stayed. They did everything possible. And I think he got the best experience possible. And if the money is there and he leaves, then, like, you know what? Like, that will suck a lot. I'll be very sad, but, like, I would not be as sad as I would be if it was like, okay, they just didn't even come close and they were like, we're not going to a certain level. But if they like struggled this year and he wasn't happy, I'd be like, well, if only this year had gone differently. To this point, I think they have done everything possible. And that helps a little bit. So I guess the final piece is just like, what do the offers look like?
I liked how people were playing both sides of the Yankees winning the World Series and how that impacts the Soto coming back chances. Like there were the people who were saying it's actually bad if the Yankees win the World Series because then they'll feel like they've accomplished everything they need to accomplish and they won't be motivated to bring back Soto. And then there were people saying it's or the other side of that was like, it's good if the Yankees don't win the World Series because they'll be really motivated. But then it's bad that they didn't win the World Series because like they showed him that even with him, they can't get over the hump. Like people are playing every side of that. So ridiculous.
Oh yeah. I actually have a question. I have a question for you guys that I was thinking about the other day. Do you think, and without drudging too much into the specifics of all the nonsense that's been said about the Yankees and how things went in the World Series, poor fundamentals, they're a fundamentally flawed team. All of this,
I'm about those specifics,
all of this
Steve.
nonsense, man. You don't need to do it right now. I know you've done it, but do you think any of that negativity, because you turn on any baseball channel right now, any commentator, the Yankees come up there, it is an overwhelming air of negativity. It's just the Yankees embarrassed themselves, right? They're trending downwards. You don't think you're talking about a team that just made the World Series. Do you think any of that bleeds into how Juan Soto is feeling about coming back to the Yankees? And now this is just us thinking. There's no way to measure any of that. But do you think that culture is not the right word, but that energy of how things ended and the way people are talking about it affects free agency?
Versus like the Mets getting a parade for losing in 6 games in the LCS.
Well, exactly, right. But it's the way people are talking about it. It's not reality.
Yeah.
Reality doesn't matter. It's just the way people talk about it. And people talk about the Mets as though they're doing great things and the Yankees are just trash.
That's a great question. I hope not. But I mean, obviously there's no way to know, which is part of the reason it's a good question. But I think I'd be surprised. Because Soto, if that affects him now, did it not affect him all season when people were saying, Soto and Judge are the greatest duo of all time? Look at the energy Juan Soto has brought to the Yankees. This is the missing piece that they needed for so long. Remember when a certain guy named after pasta who isn't very smart was saying that like someone was playing through injury because he was motivated by Juan Soto? That was something that was tweeted.
I do remember that.
Like if Juan Soto is influenced by the way people are talking about the Yankees now, then he must have been influenced by the way people were talking about the Yankees when things were going well, right? So I find it hard to believe that it could be like the deciding factor.
No, not the deciding factor. No.
In how this is going. Maybe it's a narrative that the Yankees have a burden to combat with him, but
I wonder because I have so many friends, family that are more casual baseball fans. And if anybody comes up to me, it's always, oh man, the Yankees just suck, don't they? They're just so bad. I can't believe how bad they are. It's like, dude, we made the World Series. What do you... And I mean, you're wondering if Juan Soto has people, that is the general air of what the Yankees are right now. So if he comes out and says, I re-signed for 14 years with the Yankees, there will be a sense of like, why'd you choose that shitty team? Right?
I don't know, but you don't think you have opt-outs, like in case they, if he really buys into
that's
that,
fair.
Like, well, if they're
that's
really
fair.
shitty, I could leave.
Yeah.
But here's my narrative or hypothetical. What if Game 5, 5th inning, the ball's going toward Aaron Judge, and then
he
you have
catches
the
the
biggest,
damn thing.
no, the biggest gust of wind in human history blows the ball over to Soto, and then Soto drops it. Like now Soto's the center of these targets. Do you think that changes anything? Or would people even make the same criticism? Like, I don't know.
I bet you he'd make less money. I bet he'd make a little less money. Not a lot less, but a little bit less money. Because all the talk would be Juan Soto, generational hitter, but can you really rely on him in right field? Right? That's what would be talked about. And that is a real topic of conversation too.
The answer is no.
But but it would be every contract talk would be predicated on you really can't trust him in right field.
That's a great point.
I'd be like, how did that wind blow the ball all the way over to center field, Juan? Like, what were you thinking as the ball? No, I mean, I guess like to go back to your other point though, like I feel like if I was in an office and like in my work, people were reporting on office dynamics and the performance of our team. Like, I would hope that like I would care more about my relationship with my teammates versus like what people are saying. But at the same time,
Sure.
like, yeah, I get what you're saying, and like, I mean, I hate to say it, but like, the way the Mets ended the season, if you really want to buy into that, definitely puts them on better ground in the narrative game than like if they had just lost 90 games. So I have a hard time believing that this is going to matter more to him, but
I don't think
you
Juan
never
Soto
know.
believes that going to the World Series is actually bad. I don't think he thinks
No.
that.
No. But I do wonder if some of that could be, because think about the way how when he talked about his meeting, he said we had a very honest conversation, which sounds like there were some hard truths said, right? And that could be one hearing a lot of these things, and maybe he was there for a season. He might have seen some things that he didn't like. But
I hope one of those things was Alex Verdugo.
Yeah, Alex Verdugo, and stop letting my best friend Judge make any decisions about anything because he doesn't know ball. He doesn't know any. No, but I do wonder about that. I wonder if there are some. I have to think to some extent the talk, the negativity surrounding the Yankees is on his mind. It's a thought. It has to be to some extent.
Yeah,
and I do wonder about that. You look at our farm trajectory. I mean, we have a lot of young players that just graduated, things like that. So farm system's a little lighter in that respect. But I don't know. When you put all these pieces together, is he that confident about coming to the Yankees? And I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I just feel like being totally irrational, like he was here. Like I like everyone can like put their best foot forward, but like he knows that, maybe he has some concerns, but are you really going to be like, wow, the Mets really wowed me, and now I'm just like totally down on the Yankees, or the Red Sox really wowed me? Like, he was here, he saw everything, he knows everyone. And again, if the money is there and you have opt-outs in case it gets bad, why would you want to leave that quickly unless like maybe you're really upset? I don't know. I have a hard time thinking they're like, wow, the Red Sox, they have a really good farm, and I'm a little concerned about the Yankees, so I'm getting second thoughts.
I really think it's just the Mets. I think it's Yankees or Mets for the most part. I
think you're right.
I mean, and leaving the Mets might not even be, oh, I don't like the Yankees or I'm down on the Yankees. It's they have this owner that clearly has a higher ceiling than the Yankees owner. They have less preordained money on the books. They have a deeper farm system, seem to be trending in the more right direction potentially. I'm not even making that claim, but I can see the optics of it that could lead you to think that. And you're still in New York. You still have a lot of the fan base and everything else. I can see how he could spin it. He has Lindor over there, people he's friends with. We're playing a game now that means nothing because we're just making stuff up. But this is what I do sitting on my couch anyway. So let's
if he leaves the Yankees because of Christian Scott, I'm done.
What's the contract though? I don't know who he signs with, but like, what's the number? What's the years?
I don't think he gets over 50. I don't think he gets over 50 a year. I think it could land at 50, like maybe 51 or something. That would be the highest I see it going. Over 14, I guess. 13, 14 years.
630 for 14, which is 45 a year, has been sounding true to me for no reason. So that's what I'm stuck on.
I have to do the. I think it'll be.
Cohen's going to bill. I don't think Cohen's going to come in with like an $800 million offer. If, like,
no, I don't
really.
either.
Everyone says 600.
No, I think the concern could be Soto has a super high asking point, like something that he doesn't even expect to really reach. He goes to the Yankees and they say, well, that's $800 million. I don't know, or whatever it is, $750 million. And then Steve Cohen just says, sure.
I don't think that's going to happen.
And that's it. I don't think it will either, but I feel like that is a world that could exist.
I don't believe it at all. I'm 0% in on this. What's the largest total contract value Steve Cohen has given out as an owner? $120 million? Like,
totally agree.
People are out here acting like Steve Cohen is paying everyone. And sure, does he have unbelievably deep pockets? Yes. Has he shown any appetite to use those unbelievably deep pockets to outbid everyone for the best players? No, he hasn't. If Steve Cohen were treating this situation or if it were obvious that Steve Cohen were going to treat this situation the way he treated, or the way people want him to, the way Mets fans want him to, then Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto would be on the Mets. Like that's the bottom line. If Steve Cohen were the guy who's going to give out the biggest deal to all the best guys because he has so much more money than your team's owner, then those guys would already be on the Mets. And I just am not buying that suddenly Steve Cohen is just the guy you go to with your ridiculous asking price. And he goes, yeah, well, we'd rather other teams not have you. So here you go. Like there would be precedent for that if it were going to happen. The best baseball players, the two best baseball players on the planet were consecutively free agents. Neither one is a Met.
No, I agree. I tweeted about this recently, actually, that there is no, I don't know what people are pointing to when they're saying Steve Cohen's going to outbid everybody. I think for every one of those cases you brought up, though, there is a reasonable reason why he didn't end up getting that player beyond just, he didn't want to spend the money or something like that.
For Yamamoto, there might not be. That's the one.
He seemed to want to go West Coast, right? He wanted to go West Coast. Did he not? Was that not the reported? I could be wrong.
I don't think it's clear that the Mets outbid the Dodgers, certainly.
Yeah.
Fair.
If the Mets outbid the Dodgers and he went West Coast, then sure.
I
mean, that's why everyone was complaining about the Yankees.
I mean, he does have an entire tax bracket named after him. So there is precedent for him going beyond the norms of what other teams will do.
There's precedent for him building a really big payroll. There's not precedent for that payroll being composed of uniquely large contracts.
There also hasn't been I think Juan Soto is just a unique free agent with his age. It's just different, and he's talking as though I think if there's one owner that could do that kind of thing, if we're going to say one owner that would spend something beyond the realm of what is normal, it would be him. That's not to say that he's shown he will do that or will likely do it, but he's the only one who can.
No, that's fair. All right, guys, we're going to wrap things up. Before we do, one player who did not throw an inning or take a plate appearance for the 2024 New York Yankees, who will do so for the 2025 New York Yankees. Caveat, can't be someone who was already in the organization. Like, you can't say Caleb Durbin.
I was going to say Caleb Durbin.
Yeah. I got out ahead of that because I know how you operate.
You said plate appearance,
we have
right?
talked about them?
Plate appearance or inning.
And we could have talked about them. Like they could be.
Yeah, they could be in your plan or otherwise.
Okay.
Christian
I'm gonna
Walker.
say Cody Bellinger.
Okay, so one of you is going to, at least one of you is going to be wrong because it's not going to be both of those.
Bellinger
guys.
For center field, maybe.
It could be both. Yeah, I
guess it could be both. Gosh, I don't even have a good answer here. I'm going to go with Nick Mears just because it would be a ridiculous pull. It would be like whoever tweeted like the Yankees are going to get Victor Gonzalez.
Yeah, screw it. Brock Stewart.
Exactly.
That's more fun.
All right. And that does it for this milestone episode of the Yankees Files podcast. Steve, thank you for joining us for your first episode as a full-time member of the team.
Thank you for having me, gentlemen. This was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to more talks in the future, hopefully with Juan Soto on the damn team, so we're not pulling our hair out.
That's a great point. Whipple, I understand this is not your farewell episode, so I won't do that right now, but I appreciate the gracious transition you have enabled here.
Gracious.
I'm not clinging on to power for too long.
Let go, Will.
But as I said, I'm Wally Pipp, and this is Lou Gehrig, so better times ahead.
Now, Wally Pipp did outlive Lou Gehrig, so you never know what's going to happen on that front. Anyway,
I'll be better in my time. All right, my Yankees Files tenure will be the greatest ever.
Wally Pipp was a good player for like a decent amount of time. People forget.
He's Wally Pipp. He's pretty.
And
good
then he became a lawyer, right?
Exactly.
True.
All right. That wraps things up for this episode of the Yankees Files podcast. Thank you, everyone, for listening. You can keep up with everything we do at yankeesfiles.com. You can follow us on Twitter, where we are at Yankees Files. You can listen to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts with the added bonus of video if you're listening on Spotify or watching on the Crosstown Sports YouTube, youtube.com/@CrosstownSN, I believe that is. You can also get the Battle in New York over there whenever it restarts. Sorry to take a shot at you guys. And that's going to do it. We have an interview with former Yankees minor league catcher Ryan Lidge dropping soon, in which we discuss the Ben Ruda situation and all manner of player development concerns. So keep an eye out for that. But until then, reach out to us. Let us know what you think about our offseason plans, and we'll be back at a similar time from a similar place sometime in the future. It's the offseason. Stuff will happen and we'll podcast about it. But until then, let's go Yankees.